Scribble notes when I wrote these quotes. If I offend, pardon me, there's more of me to grow. Creative in my process, enjoy the show. The will is different when you recognize the different strokes. Different folks, same goals, we all want the most. So when we reach the top, we can enjoy the toast. The type of bread we get is fresh about the bakery. Told them don't play with me, with or without a degree. Don't question my intensity, bravery. Similar to agencies that want to see you fold. So just pray for me. Yeah, Einstein with my energy.
Welcome to the Scribbled Notes podcast. How are you doing today?
Absolutely amazing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Why don't you introduce yourself for the listeners and kind of talk about what you do?
Well, my name is Antoinette Logan. I am the founder and CEO of the AIM Agency. We're a creative agency that focuses on brand development and lead generation strategies. We pretty much take our clients from idea to brand, brand to business, business to elevation and profits, meeting them where they are to help them achieve their next level business goals. I am also the chief brand officer of the Black House Media and TV Network, the editor in chief of a magazine. I'm doing all things that my spirit say, go do that. I'm doing it. Okay.
I love it. How did you find your start in this space? What was your story? What's your beginnings look like?
Well, I will say that early on, my mother, she worked in sales, brand and marketing because it wasn't called branding back then. And having her have us as kids come and help her out with different little jobs and stuff. So if it's an event going on and we have to put all the perm boxes and tape them together and turn it into a pyramid or a shape or some type of stand to make it look cute,
Mm-hmm.
different things like that. I think that that's where the bug really started at early on. But as I grew into my own space and I was doing different things, writing, singing, doing music, and things like that. Once I started taking my music career seriously, that's kind of where those connections with brands and other businesses really kicked off on a more professional level.
Mm. So it really started off in the younger years, just trying things and enjoying the creativity and the art of it all, and then just becoming
Yeah.
becoming more and taking up more of your time, your space.
Yep. Yep.
So can you talk a little bit more like in depth about the work that you actually do? What do you find most enjoyable?
I think the most enjoyable part for me is probably the process of taking a client from this idea of something that they like or want to do to actually having that thing become a real thing. Like now we have a full name, we've got a tagline, slogan, logo, website, we've got marketing assets. It's a full blown brand now. It's not just an
Mm.
idea in our head. That process is really fun. I get to learn and learn people and build relationships because you're learning a lot about the person when you have these sessions, and you're asking the questions of what's your why and why do you do this, why do you want to have this business, what made you get into it, blah blah blah, like how, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So that I love that part of it. It's really cool to get
What
to know people.
what have you found as like one of those important things to consider with a brand and building a business? Because I'm really interested in just knowing what that process looks like when you're talking to a client that's brand new or doesn't have it all figured out yet.
Well, what's important is to know who you are selling to,
Mm.
your customer. That to me is probably most important because like you can create this beautiful brand name and come up with this nice logo and come up with this awesome tagline and all this good stuff. But if the person who you're actually selling to, who your ideal customer is, doesn't connect to all that messaging and stuff that you created, it doesn't matter anyway because they're
Mm.
never going to buy. So I think that we really should start off thinking about who our customer is going to be And when we start there and then work our way backwards to, okay, our logo should look like this because this customer needs to see this. You know what I mean? And if
Mm,
you're a business that is going to have multiple types of customers, then you need to look at those different profiles of all those customers and then come to a medium average like solution of a brand that can speak to those multiple types of customers or
mm.
customer personalities.
Yeah, that's really interesting point because thinking about who you're trying to sell to and who you're trying to make be a part of your community is just as important as trying to build the community. Like trying to build the brand, you have to build it for someone. You're building it for something. In a lot of business, you're actually building to sell something. So considering that up front, it seems like a likely thing to be important, but I don't think it always is front of mind for people.
It isn't. I think that we always think about the name, the logo, and those things first.
Mm. What do you find works or has worked really well as far as different clients that you've interacted with? Which ones do you find are more successful than others after they are done working with you or through the process of working with you?
The ones that come ready to learn, actually.
Mm,
So you have multiple types of clients. You have the client that comes to you assuming that they know exactly what they need or want. And sometimes that cannot be true because sometimes clients think they need this, but really they need that.
mm.
Then you have the client that comes and they think they know how to do your job, but they're coming to you to do it for time purposes or what have you. And then you have the client that's like, look, this isn't my strong point. I know that I need this, but I also want to learn too.
Mm.
That's the best client. But then you also have the other client that is, I don't know how to do this and I really don't care to learn. Just here, just do it.
Yeah,
Those
do
are
it all for
cool.
me.
Right. And those are cool, but I don't actually, you don't find like a whole lot of satisfaction from that. Like the one that wants to learn, like it feels really good when they've actually grasped the lesson that you're teaching and they're like,
Mm,
okay, I'm confident to go and do this on my own. But the thing is, even after learning from you how to do it, they still aren't going to do it on their own. They're still going to come back to you, the expert, to do it for them,
mm.
but they feel empowered by the knowledge. Now they understand the process. Now they understand how this thing comes to, and they respect what you do for them that much more.
Yeah, that's so cool because honestly, trying to learn and being a student of life, I work at a university, and one of the things I get to do with my students is kind of teach them throughout their journey how to be better people. And it is
Mm,
oftentimes the students that are willing to learn to become a better leader and learn how they can do something or improve a system that are the ones that are the most fun that you build the best connections with because opposed
yeah,
to just coming in looking for a solution. They're looking for a long term growth. They're actually looking to see something that can be sustainable and replicated by themselves, even when you're not there. And I think that
yeah,
you said and just echoed that same sentiment.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I love that. I love that. It's a. I get find great joy out of actually, um, like the old saying, leading the horse to the water,
Mm,
but you can't make them drink.
mm-hmm.
But you know, you actually can make them drink if you wanted to. Did you know that?
Push the head on down.
No, you
Mm,
ain't gotta put. You ain't gotta force them. Just put your hand out with some salt in it.
mm.
I bet you if he eat that salt, he gonna put his head, give drink that water after that mouthful of salt.
Mm. Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't even thought of it that way, but that's so true. It's crazy how easily things can change for people if you just look at how they approach the situation. Because I bet
Yeah,
everyone that's worked with you has come with a different approach And being able to see that, like, hey, sometimes just coming with a learning approach is the way to kind of be the most successful, even if someone might have a better business plan or actually a better model than someone else. You might just see that their branding will suffer from the fact that they think they might know it all.
Yeah, I agree. I see a lot of people, and I honestly think that some of them don't even realize they're struggling, because I can't help but see, when I look at a brand, I'm automatically going to be drawn to all the things that make up the entire brand. That's just how my brain works. And once I start seeing too many mistakes, I'm over it scrolling. You know what I mean? Because it's like, ugh. And I used to be the person that actually, I'm gonna email you or inbox you and reach out and say, "Hey, you need to do da 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 da," run down this list of stuff you need to do. But
Mhm.
then I saw that some people don't take that nicely. They like, "Who you think you are to come and tell me what I need to do?" And it's like, well, I thought I was helping, but I apologize. So now I'll be like, let me just be quiet, man. My business, mind the
Mm.
business that pay you, and go
Mm.
on about yours. So,
Nah, for real. It's crazy because so I'm an author and getting feedback is oftentimes like it's one of the hardest things to do, but
yes,
it's the most important thing to do.
yes.
Hearing what someone else is saying and trying to kind of cope with something that you might not be doing well or something that you might disagree with, and understanding that it's not always coming from a malicious place. And a lot of times I'd say people who are giving critique or giving suggestion, it's not because they have malice in mind. Most of the time it is them trying to really help and say, hey, if you did this might actually work a lot better, or maybe try
Mhm,
this and you might see a better outcome. And it's coming from a place of caring and a place of actually wanting to see you grow and succeed. So I definitely think
mhm.
that that's reality for a lot of people, and especially a lot of people in branding and creative spaces, because you're constantly you're constantly not always up to date with what is the new thing or what is the way that you can communicate your message best.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we always will have to, no matter what industry we're in, you're going to constantly have to learn, because
Mm,
technology is constantly changing. It's never going away. It's just going to get more and more complicated. And when I say complicated, meaning that there'll be more and more platforms added, more and more
mm,
tools, more and more things to learn. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those things you can't. I don't think that branding is a cookie cutter situation, though. I don't think that there's a one way all,
mm,
because like, look, you can look at a brand that is totally no logo, might not be what some people consider professional. They might be, you know what I'm trying to say, and then
yep.
they blow up. But that's because the branding is done. It's just not the branding that you as a
Mm,
business brander think it should be. The branding is about authenticity all the way around the board, right? Because you need to find a way to communicate your authentic self to your ideal customer that wants to buy from you being your authentic self.
mm,
Your ideal customer should not be a customer that you have to be somebody else for, or you get what I'm trying to say.
yep.
And I'm saying that coming from the perspective of a personal brand, but it connects if it was a product too. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Now don't get me wrong, you got some companies out here with products that's gonna lie to you so they can get that money from you.
yep.
But to me, when you're building a brand, you should be able to be your authentic self. If you a soap company and it's not vegan, then let it be known that, yeah, we not you don't have to promote veganism. You don't have to say
Mm,
anything about vegan. You just promote the best parts of you. You know what I
mm,
mean? So you can still be authentic even if you're not what some people may want you to be. That just means that ain't your people. That ain't your client. Those are not the people that you need to be focused on selling to. Sell to the ones that want what you got.
yeah.
Authenticity is very important.
That what you just said, it speaks so close to home for me, because even in the writing space, and a lot of people who listen to this podcast are authors, it's the same thing. It's
Right.
like
Y-
you can't cater your story to everyone's interest. You can't be
Yep.
everything to everyone. And a lot of people who try that, they end up finding themselves just not liked by anyone because they're not loved by anyone because they're not necessarily hitting any marks for any specific group. So it's super important to really be authentic to you and understand who your audience is, like you said in the beginning, because those are the people that you tailor your brand to and tailor your messaging to.
Yep. Even like with myself, I've been battling and talking about it amongst my circle, my inner circle, about utilizing a brand, the cussing consultant,
Mm.
because I'm a professional person, but I curse sometimes, especially when I'm in it and I'm like excited and I'm passionate about what we talking about. It's gonna come out sometimes. So like it was like, oh, do I even want to do that and mix that with my beautiful brand that we have, and it looks so great, and and it's
Mm.
like, but that is who I am. I might curse for real, and I said to my friends, I said, even if I just use it as a hashtag, I don't have to make it all pretty on my flyers and stuff like that. If I just use it as a hashtag and a person saw it one time, the one time they hear me say a cuss word, it ain't gonna even phase them. They're not gonna look at me crazy or nothing, because that'll be the moment that they remember, oh, I did see that hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna connect like, oh, this is who she is. But that doesn't make my information less valuable because of that. And that's the same thing with other people. Like, we have to understand that our ideal customer, the person that our products and services are really for, they're going to be happy to accept us being exactly who we are in our way. We just have to present it properly, which is authentic. Present
Mm.
you your way, your story in your voice.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful right there. I wanted to ask you touch on it. You touched on changes, and how those things are something you have to adapt to and pivot to. Um, what have been some changes that you've noticed over the last few years in the branding space? What are some trends and things that have kind of shifted?
Well, I've seen a lot of brands go from doing things what is considered old school professional to outright the CEO busting out on Instagram trying to do a dance to a trending TikTok sound. You know what I mean? Like, we used to did not see things like that. Do you remember that there's a
Mm-hmm.
time we didn't see the people in suits doing certain stuff?
Mm-hmm.
The CEOs and the executives were not doing all that unless they was at a family barbecue cookout or something. But they definitely on the social media front page of the company twerking, or you know what I mean? So what we saw in the branding space is that COVID and the pandemic situation taught people you may as well just be who you are, because the things that you can go and buy to create something else can one day be no longer. So you may as well just be who you are in every aspect, and let the people who naturally love and like you for that be the people that you speak and talk to.
Hmm. Yeah, it's crazy how much the world changed all at once. But I think that is a really interesting point because I've seen myself so many different people just really embracing them and
Hmm.
displaying them. And obviously that's part of their brand. It's part of what makes you endeared to them. Even one of my favorite musicians actually right now, he's been doing concerts of 50 people in his backyard, no longer
Mm,
concerned about big shows, but it's been some of the best content to watch because who else is doing that but him? And who else is really
right.
concerned with that? And it
Sounds
makes you,
amazing.
yeah, it makes you that much more interested in his journey and his story and the way he's going about his business. And I think that overall, it is really interesting to see how much the world has kind of changed and how much the internet and TikTok and Instagram and all the apps have really transitioned us into being more out there because to get on the wave of what's going on is important to recognize I know for myself to recognize the trends and sounds and music and things people are using, like that's just as important now as it's ever been.
Yeah. And I'll say, the pandemic made you feel like, you know what, I could do whatever I want to do. I need to do it now. I
Mm,
actually did my book tour. I stayed on the road for 2 years,
mm,
and it was the most amazing thing ever. I literally felt like I was living out my dreams.
mm,
Like, and it was great. It was really great being able to just be, like it's the middle of a pandemic, so nobody expects you to have to be a certain way all the time. It's like, look, we don't know. We can here today, gone tomorrow. Look, just live.
mm,
Do it happily, freely.
mm.
Speaking of, I have a song called Freedom. You should check it out because that's definitely what this is all about. Living that freedom lifestyle.
I love it. I was gonna ask, what's your book about? Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. It starts with I is an affirmations book that's focused on self-love, mindset, business, wealth, money, and growth. It was the main areas of life that I felt was important to discuss in a book altogether because I wrote the book basically because I caught my boyfriend with another woman on accident,
Mm,
right? And I was mad that the next day when I woke up, I was still mad and couldn't work. So I'm like, I need to write my affirmations down this time because normally I would just say them, but saying them wasn't going to get it. So I'm like, let me write them down. And as I started writing them, I heard a voice say, this is a book. So I literally got up, and because I do branding and graphics and all that, I just quickly outlined my book, made a
mm-hmm,
book cover, and instead of filling the pages on paper, I filled it on the computer. And 3 days later, the book was published, and I booked me a ticket across the world. And
mm,
my books came, and I went over and didn't come back. I came a couple of times throughout that time to like switch out clothes and stuff like that, but not long.
mm. What was that like for you? That's so interesting.
Um, it was, you know what? It wasn't scary. It was like, here we go.
Mm,
It was definitely a journey because I didn't know too many people everywhere I went. I didn't know nobody. I was doing this thing, just doing something.
mm,
But what I will tell you is that it empowered me to do it again, not just for myself, but for other people. And I already have people that I'm working with to help them do the exact same thing. Like, we get caught up in the hype of the business of stuff when
mm,
we forget that the reason that we have a business in the first place.
mm,
Businesses are in business to make an impact in some way, right? So, us as authors, we're really in business to make an impact with our book, with our story, whatever that story is. So, if the whole goal is to really make an impact, then why am I focused so much on a venue, PR, billboards, radio, da 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 da,
mm,
all this stuff? Why can't I get up and go wherever I need to be to make an impact for the people that need to hear this story?
mm,
And that's what I did. I thought about the moment that I wrote that book. I was upset, which means that I was dealing with anger. I think that not I think, I honestly was dealing with a self-love issue in that moment. Not
mm,
like during that whole time of my life, but in that moment, there was a self-love issue happening in my mind because why am I distraught about what this man doing with somebody else when I can love myself more than enough for me, him, and anybody else? So the emotions that I was dealing with on the negative side, I wanted to use my affirmations that I've been using over the years in a positive manner to knock that negative emotion out pretty much. And I knew that if I feel it right now, it's a whole lot more people that feel it somewhere. So I went to the places that people that would feel those emotions would be. They be at the liquor store.
mm,
They be at the gas station. They be in the what some people call the hood or the ghetto. So I literally wanted to go and plant my feet on the ground in places I never been to where I knew that it wasn't about who you thought I was, or who I knew, or who I worked for, or who I was connected to. I was just a regular person that you ain't know nothing about. And if you, when I open my mouth to have a conversation with you was gonna open your heart to have a conversation with me back. And
Mm.
now we gonna speak heart to heart. We no longer speaking mouth to mouth. We speaking heart to heart. And we was gonna build a relationship. We were gonna bond and communicate in a way that when you walked away from me, you would be empowered and inspired to be better than what you was before you spoke to me. That was the goal, and it was accomplished so many times with so many different people.
That's amazing. That's just amazing to hear. It sounds like that was a life changing journey for you, and it's just
It
an amazing
definitely was.
story. Yeah, just amazing, just to know and to hear just the impact, because I think we oftentimes do as just people, we get caught up in the business side of things. We get caught up in our minds thinking that there's one purpose, there's one thing that we're doing, and we forget that the impact you can have on a single individual is far far more important, and the impact that you have on the lives of people, and as you're putting yourself out there and people are reciprocating and thanking you, being grateful for those interactions, that makes the biggest difference ultimately,
Hmm.
bigger than anything else that we could have expected.
Agreed. Because, honestly, people, they thanked me and all that good stuff, but little do they know, like, I'm like, you impacted my life
Mm.
too. Probably more than what you think I did for you. Because now the responsibility is heavier. Like, you got to do this again and again and again and again, right? You got to keep going out here and finding the people that need these words to help them. Like, I don't want to put it in a religious aspect because I'm not a religious person, but to me, the different religions is all about the stories that they tell you in a way that that group of people can understand it, right?
Mm.
So when you look at like the story of Jesus and going into the land with the people, and finding his people literally going where they are, walking through the land. Like that's kind of like what I meant, just
Mm.
go where they at. Have a conversation. The conversation is more than a hey, how you doing? It's a what you been through.
Mm.
What happened to you? How can I help you?
Mm.
When we come with that openness, that vulnerability, that humility, that I want to help, not take. You
Mm.
know, the conversation is different, and it actually give you more than it take away from you, because you think that when you giving, you're giving away something, but when you give, you're really getting a whole lot back while
Mm.
you're giving, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like you can't possibly understand that as much as you've given, you're receiving so much in return. And sometimes it's hard for us to recognize that just sharing our message and sharing your story, just talking to somebody and communicating, it can mean that someone's inspired. It can make someone change their lives. Like
Hmm.
people can find paths just because you were able to unlock something in them that they didn't know they could. And sometimes that's just the smallest interactions. Like I've had people who are inspired to write books and inspired to tell their
Yes.
stories, and I'm like,
Yes.
wow, it's because you saw me publish a book. Now you're inspired, and I think those kind of things are humbling, and they also make you just recognize that this is why you keep going when it's tough, when you're not
Absolutely.
seeing, yeah, when you're not seeing results, when things aren't going well. This is why you keep going.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because so this one lady had bought my book. She was in Arizona. I had a picture of her daughter reading my book, and her daughter was like, "I've never met an author before," so I had to pull up in Arizona, and to this day, me and that 11-year-old girl, I sat with her. She said she had never met an author, and now she wants to become one. So
Hmm.
I sat with her, and I think that book was done a little bit over 3 days, maybe a week. That book. That 11-year-old girl is now an author with books in Barnes and Noble,
Wow.
Amazon, and all these places. We wrote a book together. Like I can't I can't promise anyone, you're going to be a millionaire from doing this, that, or the other. But what I can do is tell you that every gift that was given to me from the creator directly to my soul and in my spirit, I will use it to help and impact other people in any way that I can. Now, do that mean that everything gonna be free? Nope, not at all. But we gonna get it done though,
Mm,
And that's I'm on a mission to help people be the best version of themselves. What is it that you want to do? You want to do that? Okay, let's go do it. It don't
mm,
take all day to do nothing. It can happen.
mm,
And I don't have to be an expert in we don't you don't have to be an expert in the thing that you want to do. You just got to have the want and the will inside of you to want to do it, and it can be done.
mm,
That's it. Everything, it literally starts with you, with I. The word it starts with I. That means that anything you decide you want to do, it's a matter of you getting to it to make it happen.
mm. I love that. So where can people find you online? Where can they connect? Where can they get your book? Where can they book your services? Where drop all that information for them?
I am Ask Miss Logan on all social media platforms. That is askmslogan. You can go to Linktree. That's linktr period /ask askmslogan. And from there, I have all my links in one place.
Mm. All right, thank you. We're definitely gonna have those in the show notes for the people listening, so you don't gotta feel like you gotta go too far. You'll be able to click that link and be able to find that. So one of my last questions, because we're coming up on the end of our time, I like to
Okay.
ask people is, what type of advice do you have for people listening that are looking to chase their own dreams and are maybe a little afraid to do so right now?
Well, the first thing that you're going to have to do is literally throw your fear in the garbage. I want you to take a sheet of paper and I want you to write down every reason that you would not do what you want to do, every reason that you would stop and hesitate from doing what you want to do. Write it down on the sheet of paper, cut it up, ball it up, put it on fire, throw it in the garbage, whatever, but get rid of it. Write it down on that sheet of paper, cut it up, ball it up, whatever you want to do, and throw it in the garbage. Get rid of that fear.
Mm,
Leave it there. The next thing you're going to want to do is literally write down what it is that you actually want. It could be one thing or a lot of things. It's up to you. Write those things down. Do it in a place when you are comfortable, when you relax. Even light you some candles that smell good, you know, have you some water, some good, nice water. I don't know if you like cold water, warm water, but allow yourself to be relaxed and in a peaceful state so that you can write those things down and actually open your mind to visually see yourself having or doing those things and let it work for you.
mm,
Let it work for you. It doesn't take a lot to just start moving your feet in the direction of the things that you want. You don't have to work hard. Working
mm,
hard is not a thing that we should have to do. It's about being intentional. The new It Starts With Our book is It Starts With Our Intention. We taught you about affirmations in the first one. This next one is going to teach you about how to live an intentional life. And it starts with getting rid of that fear, actually writing down what you want, and then doing things to make it happen. And it can be done easily. It's not about hard work.
mm. Definitely. I agree. I co-sign all that. That is an amazing path to move forward with. Thank you for coming on the podcast. This has been super enlightening for me. I've definitely enjoyed this conversation so much. I feel like I have so much to move forward with for myself, and I know anyone listening probably feels the same way.
I love it. And I appreciate you for having me. It has been great. It was a lovely conversation. Thank you. What an amazing platform you have.
Thank you. And for all the listeners, you know what to do. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you rate this podcast. Ratings go a long way, and I've seen a big tick in ratings lately. So make sure you rate it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It makes a huge difference. And that's it. I'll see y'all next week. Peace out.
Scribble notes, Scribble notes when I wrote these quotes. If I offend, pardon me, there's more of me to grow. Creative in my process, enjoy the show. The will is different when you recognize the different strokes. Different folks, same goals, we all want the most. So when we reach the top, we can enjoy the toast. The type of bread we get is fresh about the bakery. Told them don't play with me, with or without a degree, don't question my intensity. Bravery, similar to agencies that wanna see you fold. So just pray for me. Yeah, Einstein with my